Hello, you guys. Welcome to our live.
Oh, you're doing it high? Like
Yeah.
with the ceiling?
Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's my bad.
There we go.
Yeah. All right.
Fabulous.
Hey.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in to our show today. I know this looks like a classroom, but I want to take you into an imaginary vortex. Maybe we're not.
Edit this part out.
It's recording. It's recording. We just gotta go. Who got the questions?
Okay.
Okay.
So, Postman mentions that each new technology is a Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil. What are the details of this bargain with social media? What did we lose? What did we gain? Did we create more than we destroyed, or is it the other way around? So personally, I would say that it's the perfect example of a bargain because we did lose some things and gain some things with like the advancement of technology. So as we did discuss, like we lost like how to properly have like face-to-face conversations, you know, like maintain eye contact and things like that. And also, as you discussed in the video, like our nervous systems aren't as equipped to deal with difficult conversations or interactions. So I think that's a negative that we've got from the advancement of technology. Any positives?
Well, another negative is that. Sorry. Well, another negative is that it also affects like relationships because you're not able to make like a stronger connection as if you were to be like in person, face to face.
And then I'll say positive is the connectivity and how easily accessible it is. So if we can't reach a person on the phone, we can, go to other avenues to be able to reach out to them and let them know what's going on with us and vice versa. And word of mouth is traveling quicker with that type of technology.
Something I was thinking about, we talked about a little bit on Monday, is how it's addictive. You know, how social media and things like that are set up so that our brains, release dopamine. And I was thinking about how that can kind of impact, kind of like you said, like our interpersonal skills and just like our coping skills almost, because it's addictive. Just like a drug addict or, alcoholic or something, when something difficult comes up in their life, they go to that. Maybe that's kind of influenced our coping skills. Like, instead of dealing with things and, like, seeking out help, we go to social media and we get that little dopamine burst. And I was also thinking about how that might affect, like, children's development. For us, I know we grew up without, like, all that media, I guess, or, like, technology. But it's just kind of worrisome, like, kids growing up with all this technology. They're still developing, so how does, if they aren't learning these coping skills, if they're just going to social media, how does that affect them? So I guess that's kind of the drawback side of it.
Also, like, we tend to go on social media, or not even social media, like just the internet, and whatever we see, we believe that it's like the best and it's popular and that we should be like whatever is on social media.
Is the internet the ultimate Faustian bargain? Will it be our undoing? Do we stand to gain more than we lose? So I would say that, as I did say with the other question, it is the ultimate bargain. However, I don't believe that it will be our undoing because I believe we have the knowledge and the ability to withstand the obstacles that we are having with like communication barriers and things like that. So I do believe like in the future it is possible that with us acknowledging these issues that we are facing, we will be able to overcome them somehow with further technological advancement.
I would say that we as humans have to kind of mature and come along a little bit because technology increases and changes so rapidly that by the time we're used to something, it's changed to something else. So, I mean, even the apps that we currently have, they might update and now something's different and now this is different. So I think that we progress way slower than the technology. And it might not be our undoing, but it's going to take some collective I guess switching to a little bit of a collectivist mindset if we're going to move forward on the internet as a people.
It's also kind of like forcing us to move forward because, like, if you're still back here and like technology is moving forward, your technology is most likely not going to work as well or be as productive as the newer one. So it's kind of forcing you to like learn the new stuff.
All right. With advertising focus being to grab your attention with emotion or over-the-top imaging, how does this affect our culture today? Are we thinking less and more prone to grab onto what feels good? Why?
So I think Chanel brought up a good point when she said that pretty much humans as a species are already shallow. We're already kind of programmed to reach for the thing that feels good naturally anyway. And with the what was the second part of that question? I'm always forgetting.
1 second. Right away. So the second part of the question is, are we thinking less and more prone to grab onto what feels good? Why?
So we're not thinking less, but we definitely are thinking differently, and that that programs us to reach out more to the thing that feels good anyway.
So I do agree, as you did say, it is already kind of like programmed in humans to reach out to what feels good. So I don't think that we're thinking less. I kind of think it's almost like we're unconsciously doing this process. So it's almost like it's not affecting our thinking process.
It might make us think differently, but definitely not less.
So is shallow-based thinking caused by or an effect of the technology-centered society we are in today?
Go ahead.
I think, no, but in a way, I guess the way advertising is set up, it's just like we kind of can think in the way that it's set up, like little blurbs of things, like just the main headline. Maybe that can kind of contribute to a shorter attention span, I guess. And just, what was the thing I said earlier? Yeah, just kind of like focusing on instant gratification. So I don't think, like you said, I don't think it makes us think any less. But if we kind of, like you said, unconsciously, if we aren't thinking about it, it's easy to kind of go into that mindset of not like thinking critically about things, I guess. Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, that was good.
All right. So do you think everyone in the world now is more shallow-based in their thinking, or do you think it differs with each generation?
So we had a little bit of a lengthy discussion about this, but I think that, and I mean we had a lot of the same things to say, but the generations focus on different things, but in the end we all end up being shallow about something to a degree that affects the entire generation, and into which the next generation feels the need to rebel or get away from because whatever reason. So. I think that it's just different. It varies from generation to generation.
Yeah, so it doesn't make us more shallow or less shallow. It's just the places or categories where we are placing our shallowness are different in each generation.
And an example of that would be politics.
All right. So has the media decreased our overall attention span to news because of the easy access it has today? Look at the differences in generational gaps. Baby boomers experienced the rise in television use and media in their life. Xers saw the early age of computers as media, while millennials saw us go from slow computers to high-speed ones that can fit in the size of our hand. Is the generational gap in media technology the reason behind the generational gap in politics? So personally, I believe that it does play a role in the generational gap in politics, but I don't believe that it is solely the only reason. So I would say that it does play a hand in the generational gap in politics because my generation, the millennials, we have easier access to information on both political parties or all of the candidates running, opposed to those of earlier generations where you're kind of given the information at the discretion of the media sources. So in our time, we have access to things like Twitter, where if one of the candidates running did something in their past, that can come to light. However, in the past, that wouldn't necessarily have happened because the media channels wouldn't necessarily portray negative things. So I do feel like it does play a role in how we as a generation view politics. And I do believe it causes a gap. But again, I don't think it's the only factor.
I'm gonna do a quick time check. Y'all keep talking.
The attention span, it says, is it decreased due to the access that we have for news today? Yeah, so for sure, like, because it's so much going on and we have full coverage of everything that's going on quickly, it's a lot to process, it's a lot to chew, and then it's a lot to even like output the information if we choose to output the information, because there's so much that we're talking about or not that we're not talking about that we're processing in our mind that it's just quick to just forget, or it's quick to not, even really pay a lot to, even though if it's devastating information that we're getting. Like beforehand, there was a lot of things going on, like in the baby boomer generation too. There were a lot of things that were changing in the world, but because the media outlet wasn't as fast and quick as it is now, the information that's being processed wasn't as much, so it was less overwhelming. It wasn't that there wasn't as much going on. It's just they didn't have as much access all the time the way that we do now.
Yeah, and maybe that even for older people that can sort of still be the case, I guess, depending on how much they engage with media or how much technology they have or whatever. Like maybe somebody in their, well, I guess you'd have to be pretty old. People are getting better. But say you're in your 70s, maybe you only watch the television and read the newspaper. Maybe you don't even have a cell phone. So I guess kind of the whole medium is the message thing. Maybe the medium that you use can affect that. Like you said, like if you're a millennial and you're on the internet all the time, you're going to have a wider access, but maybe if you're older, you might have less information that can kind of go into it.
Also, day by day, like, the news is changing. There are, like, new things happening every day. So, like, what the hot topic was, like, 2 weeks ago, and we remembered it, and it might have been devastating. We've just thrown that into the back of our heads, and we've, like, moved on.
So, how has the usage and invention of technology shaped how we communicate today? So, I believe that, as we did state earlier, that it's almost like there are pros and cons to our communication today. So, like, an example of that is we might not be as equipped to have those in-person, deep conversations, that require, like, more emotional strength or even more strength from your nervous system to endure that kind of anxiety. However, I do feel that we do have the ability to communicate easier since we do have access to social media and that technology. So you don't only have to speak to someone when you see them in person or if you have their telephone number to contact them, because you can always find their social media profile to speak with them. So I feel like that's a pro to it. However, again, it does alter the way that we do communicate or the ability to communicate.
Like, an example of that could be like either going to the therapist or even like when you're at an interview. Like nowadays, like it's harder for us to like give out an interview because like we're so used to just like doing everything online, and like we can type out like a whole paragraph about ourselves, but like actually going to speak about ourselves, I guess, is more you have to be strong about it, I guess. No.
Would you say that the language that gets used on the internet kind of stunts our ability to speak normally?
Yeah.
I mean, with the abbreviations and the the whatever slang that's being used at the time.
I personally do think that because I hear a lot of people like we don't really talk like perfectly grammar wise, like probably how I just did. But like online, like autocorrect literally corrects it for us, or like the dictionary can correct it for us. We don't need to be like, oh, this doesn't make sense. That's
Right.
just
Personally,
That's crazy.
I don't think that the use of like internet slang affects the way that we communicate in person, because something that I'm used to as an African American is kind of like cultural code shifting. So it's like in certain settings I speak a certain way, and in other settings I speak a different way. So I feel like that's easier to implement with social media, like using the texting lingo online and not tying that into reality.
But I
feel like-
still think that causes you to have the maturity or understanding, like there's a difference. You have the differential understanding that to be able to shift, you have the etiquette. That's what I think that would be like technological etiquette. Like you know when to use and apply those things. Where some people don't have that etiquette and they kind of just think that's translucent and they can use that everywhere across the board in any environment. And that kind of isn't the case.
Yeah.
I guess one kind of benefit of the internet, as far as helping our real life relationships, a lot of the issues that are popular, everybody's reading about on the internet. And so it might give you stuff to talk about in real life. Just gives you more stuff to talk about in real life.
That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today to our broadcast, and we'll see you same time tomorrow.
We won't be seeing you tomorrow. We'll be seeing you Monday.